Children, children, settle down, close your mouths and pin back your ears and listen while I tell you all about the big animals in the UK European elections of 2014. Previously, you have learned something of the European Union structure and its evil purposes. You have learned something of the European Parliament and its busy meaninglessness. You have learned something of the electoral system, which is not really democratic, not really proportionate, and not easy to make any sense of. You have also learned something of the Green Party, who believe that there would be no problems if only everyone were nice and wore flowers. And of the Scottish nationalists, who believe that they can rule Europe. And of the Welsh nationalists, who believe that the good life is going around Europe begging. And of the Lib Dems, who believe that they can do nothing but grovel at the feet of the Germans, French, Italians, and other assorted foreigners. Now we come to the three parties who are the front runners as they approach the final tape. As explained previously, most votes does not necessarily mean most seats, but psychologically at this time it is votes that really matter. The Labour Party is led by Ed Miliband, that is. The most noticeable thing about his campaign for the European Parliament is that he does not wish to talk about Europe. The Labour Party website is difficult to enter without giving your name and email and money. And inside there is nothing about Europe and little about this year's election. It is not that they are not interested in the EU, it's that they are determined to try and stop the British people having a chance to vote their way out. If Miliband thinks the country is best in, then no one else's opinion matters. Some polls have consistently been putting Labour top in terms of votes promised, whereas others have equally consistently put them second behind UKIP. One at least has put Conservatives first, with Labour some points back, and UKIP way back with fewer votes than in 2009. Some polls may prove to be accurate. Others will definitely be proved to be so inaccurate as to invoke suspicions of deliberate deception. The Conservative Party, the Tories, is of course led by the present Prime Minister, Cameraman, so called because he has a wonderful talent for producing pictures in the minds of the gullible, pictures of the country as he says it was, dark and terrible. Pictures of the country as he says it is, getting wonderfully better by the day, and pictures of the country as he says it will be, depending of course on whether he continues to run the show onwards to glory, or others lead it back to ruin. But of course, the modern world has invented the art of photoshopping, which has turned the old concept of the camera cannot lie on its head. The pictures are for effect only. They have no relationship with the truth or the real world. A part of Cameraman's portfolio of wonderful pictures is one in which he tells the Britain not to worry about the EU now, because after he has won the next election, he will tell the EU leaders how they must change their naughty ways, and they will all agree. And then in 2017, the British people will adoringly endorse what he has done for them. When you think about it, Cameraman and Alex Salmond are two of a kind, wildly optimistic beyond all reasonable possibilities, living in a world that is far beyond cloud cuckoo land. In fact, this eventually destructive personality trait has led Cameraman into the breathtaking mixture of arrogance and ignorance that led him to believe that he had only to declare that he was redefining marriage that would change marriage itself. as if declaring that cats were a subspecies of dogs would make it so. Now many voters will no longer support Cameraman, some for religious reasons, and some because they dare not give any support to one so deranged. So, most of the polls seem to indicate that the man now Prime Minister, who was in first place with 26% of the vote in the 2009 Euro election, may end up in third place with less than 20% in 2014. A humiliation, especially for one who talks of winning the 2015 general election. And with that, we come to UKIP and its leader fan page. He has a message to share, and he does so faithfully, fearlessly, and fanatically, even though the focus is very narrow. He is, I think, genuinely loathed by the cosy political elite because he is not one of them, and, more unusually and alarmingly, does not want to become one. To them, he sees the world too much in black and white, though, interestingly, it is his detractors in the Labour, Conservative and Lib Dem corrals who in practice discriminate against black immigrants in favour of those of a paler hue, but they excuse it, of course, pretending that it is not black and white, but non-European and European. Just accident that most Europeans are white. Cleverclogs Clegg made the bad mistake of challenging fan page to televised debates, and was twice trounced by Calm Dignity and Reason, without histrionics or descent to abuse and wild accusation, unlike Clegg and the many other opponents who are constantly accusing Fanpage of racism on the basis that he opposes unlimited access to Britain for job seekers from Europe. Fanpage's fanaticism and focus is that Britain does not, deep in its heart and soul, belong in a European Union, as opposed to a trading agreement, the very grounds upon which Charles de Gaulle, President of France, vetoed Britain's application to the then common market in 1963 and 1967. This concentration of one purpose, led by one man, is perfect for a campaign such as this, and for a referendum on continued membership of the EU, should it ever occur. But for next year's general election, UKIP would need to have a greater range of policies, with a greater diversity of able leaders. In turning a protest group into a national political party, Fanpage has made some mistakes in making declarations easily misinterpreted, and in choosing candidates and associates of questionable views and abilities. But his passion for an independent and prosperous Britain is unquestionable, and there is no other significant party of whom that can be said at this election. It must be admitted that for those of us who feel insulted every time we see the words European Union on our passports, who reject the very notion that we have a European nationality, UKIP is the only choice we have. So, there we have it, boys and girls. May the 22nd, 2014 could turn out to be a historic day in Britain's history, if everyone who believes in an independent Britain turns out to vote with their hearts. Incidentally, I personally have been delighted to see that the Animated Alphabet Android app at theanimatedalphabet.com is whimsically British in storyline, spelling and pronunciation. Don't miss out on it.